It was somewhere in September, and the sun was going down, when I came in search of copy to a darling river town. Come and have a drink, we'll call it, 'tis a fitting name, I think. And 'twas raining for a wonder up at Come and Have a Drink. Underneath the pub veranda, I was resting on a bunk, when a stranger rose before me, and he said that he was drunk. He apologized for speaking, there was no offense, he swore, but he somehow seemed to fancy that he'd seen my face before. No offense, he said. I told him that he needn't mention it, for I might have met him somewhere. I had traveled round a bit, and I knew a lot of fellows in the bush and in the streets, but a fellow can't remember all the fellows that he meets. Very old and thin and dirty were the garments that he wore, just a shirt and pair of trousers and a boot and nothing more. He was wringing wet and really in a sad and sinful plight, and his hat was in his left hand and a bottle in his right.
He agreed you can't remember all the chaps you chanced to meet, and he said his name was Sweeney, he lived in Sussex Street. He was camping in a stable, but he swore that he was right, only for the blanky horses walking over him all night. He'd apparently been fighting, for his face was black and blue, and he looked as though the horses had been treading on him too. But an honest, genial twinkle in the eye that wasn't hurt seemed to hint of something better, spite of drink and rags and dirt. It appeared that he mistook me for a long-lost mate of his, one of whom I was the image, both in figure and in fizz. He'd have had a letter from him if the chap were living still, for they'd carried swags together from the Gulf to Broken Hill. Sweeney on the while and hinted that his folks were doing well, and he told me that his father kept the Southern Cross Hotel. And I wondered if his absence was regarded as a loss when he left the elder Sweeney, landlord of the Southern Cross. He was born in Parramatta, and he said with humor grim that he'd like to see the city ere the liquor finished him. But he couldn't raise the money. He was damned if he could think what the government was doing. Here he offered me a drink. I declined, 'twas self-denial, and I lectured him on booze. User all the hackneyed arguments that preachers mostly use. Things I'd heard in temperance lectures. I was young and rather green, and I ended by referring to the man he might have been.
Then a wise expression struggled with the bruises on his face, though his argument had scarcely any bearing on the case. What's the good of keeping sober? Fellers rise and fellers fall. What I might have been and wasn't doesn't trouble me at all. But he couldn't stay to argue, for his beer was nearly gone. He was glad, he said, to meet me, and he'd see me later on. He guessed he'd have to go and get his bottle filled again, and he gave a lurch and vanished in the darkness and the rain. And of afternoons in cities when the rain is on the land, visions come to me of Sweeney with his bottle in his hand, with a stormy night behind him and the pub veranda post. And I wonder why he haunts me more than any other ghost. I suppose he's tramping somewhere where the bushmen carry swags, cadging round the wretched stations with his empty tucker bags. And I fancy that of evenings when the track is growing dim, what he might have been and wasn't comes along and troubles him. And of afternoons in cities when the rain is on the land, visions come to me of Sweeney with his bottle in his hand, with the stormy night behind him and the pub veranda post. And I wonder why he haunts me more than any other ghost.